Hello, 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 Sui Basecamp. It is 4 p.m. So I hope everybody's got their energy up. I've got my energy up. How are you enjoying Basecamp so far? I love to see it, love to see it. Okay, so I'm Lola Oyelayo-Pearson. As Michael said, I head up commerce and consumer product here at Mysten Labs. And today I want to introduce you to Enoki, which is a product we have been building ever since mainnet. But first, let's roll the video.
Your customers want more enjoyment, personalization, and value. You need less fragmentation, friction, expense. Enter Enoki, the gateway to next-generation experiences. Empower your customers through ownership, increase retention through engagement, decrease spend and increase value. Let people own their assets, their experiences, their value, and love your brand. Enoki.
Now, if you have signed up and you picked up a card, you would probably have a QR code, or on the back of your badge, a QR code that should have taken you to your digital NAMI bag. So what I'm going to encourage you all to do right now, thank you, is to check your NAMI bag. So get your phones out, have a look through. If you haven't signed up yet, you should. Because inside your NAMI bag, there is an Enoki NFT that looks like this. And that NFT has just revealed its content to you. It was previously a time capsule NFT. And about 2 minutes ago, it decided to tell you what's in it. And what's in it is that 5 people, either in this room, let me know if you're one of them, or at this event over the next 2 days, have just won 2,000 euros to go shopping at Galeries Lafayette. I don't know about you, but there's a lot of damage that can be done with 2,000 euros in that shop. So I feel like Oprah right now. If you have got one, please make yourself known to the Sui Foundation. We want to take a picture of you. We want to take a picture of your NFT. And you're welcome. So let's talk a little bit about Enoki. In offering you the digital NAMI bag and having the time capsule NFT, we just created a moment in this room, right? We created a moment where there was a connection between you. And this is the kind of thing that marketers are obsessed with. Caroline and Michael just on this stage talking about the power of those moments and the fact that great customer engagement ultimately for them has direct bottom line impact. Twilio did some research and found that the people who are most effective at delivering great customer engagement and great customer experiences can see up to 90% increase in their revenue. Now, the thing about their research is they talked about the difference between people who are very good at this, so the kind of the most mature organizations, the most effective organizations, and those that are maybe trying things out, right? They're trying and they're doing their best, but they're not quite there yet. And the reality is every single business right now is thinking about this problem space because we understand that the business case for loyalty has already been made. It's an imperative. That 90% in increased revenue could be the difference between your business going to IPO or irrelevance. It could be the difference between doubling or tripling your market cap or wiping out your share value. And the reality is you can't afford to wait. You can't afford to sit on your laurels and say, well, we'll see what the market does. Customer engagement has to happen now. And part of the challenge that businesses have is that, unfortunately, the experiences that they can deliver right now fall short. But despite that, most of you, if you're working for a multinational organization or you're leading a fan engagement platform at a massive racing team or basketball franchise, you're probably going to spend a ton of money in the next 7 years on loyalty. Let's not even talk about the fact that this $28.7 billion is just a quarter of the total investment in customer experience as a whole, which can include customer service, your staff, your call centers, your help and support. This is just the loyalty spend. You're going to spend that money because you have no choice as a business, whether you are one of these companies who's really good at it or one of these companies that's struggling to make something work. Now, the reality is, unfortunately, is that most businesses will fail. I don't know about you, but I have stood in a shop when a staff member, bless them, is working really hard to find me in the system, even though their point of sale doesn't believe that I've already spent hundreds of dollars with them. Or I am at a game or at an event, and I get an email afterwards that basically just looks like spam. There's like nothing but logos. It has nothing to do with the feeling I had when I was standing in the stadium. The upside is that 90% increased revenue that we can all see. But in the downside, there is a ton of work to do. So I'm going to tell you a story about Jimmy. But in this story, I want you to think about Jimmy, maybe visualize Caroline or Mike that were just on stage. So Jimmy is a VP of marketing at ABCD stores, and he thinks in terms of his customers. He visualizes his purpose as people, humans, individuals at the end of their brand experience. He thinks about AMA all the time, right? Because AMA matters to him. AMA is how he conceptualizes his campaigns, his strategies, his effectiveness. But the reality is Jimmy's job is not done unless he meets business numbers and business outcomes. Mike and Caroline, they conceptualized it perfectly. It's engagement, it's impressions, it's cost to serve, it's lifetime value. It's often customer acquisition costs, it's CAC, it's all of these things that are hard bottom line numbers. So many of us not working for free. Salaries have to get paid. So you better believe that even if you're going to say, I want to talk about connection and people, my job comes down to the numbers, the reality, the bottom line, right? So when Jimmy's thinking about campaigns, activations, he has tons of services. There's all sorts of vendors, all sorts of tech that he wants to implement. It's all there. But here's the problem. Jimmy and his CTO. Now, his CTO, she runs a retail technology empire. So she's busy making sure that the lights are on and the point of sale is working and the logistics and everything that has to deliver a retail business works. And Jimmy shows up and says he wants to run a new campaign. And she's like, I'm not putting my tech infrastructure at risk because of a campaign. And so they have this battle that they go back and forth on how Jimmy gets to do what he wants to do and what she has to safeguard in terms of running a multinational retail empire. Now, Jimmy doesn't have any issues getting budget right now. So Jimmy in his business is able to convince his CEO, his board, everybody's going to go spend money on loyalty because the business case is clear. We've already talked about it. But Jimmy can't get the tech built. And he can't get the tech built because legacy. And if any of us, I don't know how many people in this room have ever worked in a Web2 multinational tech company or tech team. I feel for all of us because you have this great idea. You know exactly what the business needs. You came up with it. You've been reading. You've been watching the videos. You can do the deck. And then someone's going to be like, yeah, that Oracle database, never going to let you do that. And we're not migrating because it's too expensive and it's too old and it's too important. So tech legacy is your enemy when it comes to introducing new ideas, new strategies as a marketer, as somebody who's following this imperative to deliver value to an emergent ecosystem of customers and audiences who want and expect more. In that landscape, Jimmy basically has a parade of vendors. So some stuff he builds in-house because he managed to convince the CTO to let him have a couple of devs. Some stuff he buys. And unfortunately for Amma, what it feels like is a hot mess. Because today she logs in with this ID, tomorrow she has to follow up with this in order to get the discount or the coupon. She's got to click through 10 different websites and all of them are rubbish. And one of them isn't mobile optimized. It's a horrible, horrible experience. And I guess you can live with that, right? Because you've got no choice. So I know you're thinking, why would you bring blockchain into this? If this is already so hard and so difficult and so complicated, why on earth would you introduce a tech stack that ultimately is quite complicated into the mix? There's another imperative on the table. Cookies are going away. And in a cookieless world, there are two types of businesses. Those that have the right and honestly, the good value proposition that entitles them to your first-party data. You can have my name. You can have my email address. I will tell you my home address. And those that don't. I'm not going to give my details to everyone. And I don't believe that every brand has the right to my first-party data just because they want it and just because their tech stack needs it. So this is the world that we are in. And so I'm going to make what to a lot of people may seem like the least interesting, least compelling business case for blockchains. But it is probably the most important case for blockchain. And for those of you who are bullish on Sui, this is my bet to how we break out of the bull and bear cycles. Because this stuff doesn't care about blockchain bull and bear cycles. So today we think about the public on-chain data. We think about wallets, we think about assets, we think about transactions. And the average person is going to look at this and it's going to seem very inhuman. It's going to seem very distant. It's just kind of hashes and, I don't even know what it is. And when you think about the marketers, the CTOs, the CMOs, Mike, Caroline, they don't speak in terms of PTBs or TPSs or even NFT. They haven't got a clue what it is. They don't care, right? But in a cookieless world, where you don't have the right to first-party data, or you're not good enough at collecting it, or you're challenged because you've got multi-vendor setup, in that cookieless world, suddenly blockchain becomes your open and interoperable data layer. Your wallets are actually users you're allowed to interact with without the contorting, back-breaking thing of avoiding or maybe thinking about PII. I don't want to tell you my name and my address, but I might show you that I support this team. I don't want to tell you how much I spent at Starbucks, but I might tell you that I'm a level 25 coffee aficionado. My wallet actually becomes a representation of my behavior. And it's okay for you to know that, because if you know that, I, the user, get more value from you. And what you really care about is my behavior, not my personal information. Now, for a complex, multi-brand, multinational like Jimmy's, like Oracle Red Bull Racing, like the Golden State Warriors, like any other large enterprise business, this is the most important benefit that blockchain is going to bring them, because the daily cost they face in bad data, old data, locked in black box data is a tax on their business. And what we're bringing to the table is a benefit. It's an asset that respects not just what you want to build in the future, but also what you might have built in the past. You can connect your old competition system and turn it into an NFT and put it in Amma's wallet. And that means next year when you want to do something with Amma, you could remember that she won the competition, even though the competition vendor was party XYZ. This becomes why businesses need to care about blockchains like Sui. And it is the creative service that every marketer and CTO needs. If you want to convince your CTO that you want to do something compelling and super interesting on blockchain, then you want to talk about doing it on Sui. Engagement and customer engagement is an art. It's not a science. It's not a list of capabilities. It's about creativity. It's about trying and learning and growing and doing new things. But there's a catch. I say blockchain, but not all blockchains are built for this. And I'm not one to shit on other people's, stuff. Apologies for the French there. But tons of billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars. I showed you $28.7 billion will be spent in 2030 on loyalty solutions. Absolutely no CTO or CMO is interested in pissing that up a wall because of a blockchain that enforces scarcity and increases the cost to serve an experience by 70 times in one day. You'd get sacked. Why am I building loyalty on Polygon if I'm going to get sacked? My loyalty program has nothing to do with that superfan NFT that spiked cost. Can any of you explain what inscriptions are to the CMO? I don't even want to. It shouldn't be a factor in the conversation. And so this is why Sui makes the difference. Sui delivers that simplicity of the Web2 experience, and it brings you the Web3 superpowers. It scales, it's fast, it's cheap, and it scales cheaply as well. So when you are building on this infrastructure, you are guaranteeing your ability to continue building on it in a way that is cost effective and improves your ROI. So your chance at getting that 90% increase in revenue is significantly greater than if you weren't building on Sui. Now, here's another catch. Even if you believe me, and I know, throw your money at me, it's okay, I can take it. Even if you believe me in that moment, there's another hurdle. There is a cost to change. There's a cost to adopting a new technology. Are you going to retrain your developers? You are just hiring a new team who's getting to know what you do. Are you going to convince them all that they have to learn all of your existing tech stack and this new Sui Move stuff? Okay, it sounds cool, but it is still new tech. So we went a little bit further. And this is where Enoki comes in. Enoki is designed explicitly to bring you the creative surface of blockchain and the uniqueness of Sui and everything you might want to do on it as a large, multinational, huge audience business, but you don't need to become a blockchain expert to use it. And that is the most important part of the equation. Marketers need Sui today. The engagement promise, the empowerment promise has to be met. That imperative is on the table. And we want to make sure that we provide you with a tool that allows you to exploit Sui, a blockchain built for scale, a blockchain built for large businesses at scale, operating at scale, without the overhead. Enoki will offer you the best onboarding experience available in Web3. Now, I know a lot of talks today have mentioned ZK login, and it is a big claim, but it's not the only part of onboarding onto Web3 that matters. So ZK login will allow you to log in with Google, with Twitch, with Apple, with Outlook, with Kakao, with Amazon, and more. Every time we meet a new ID credential and meet a new provider, we are going to integrate them into ZK login. Because we don't want any marketer to ever say, oh, my user's on X, do you think they can get onto Web3? But like, of course they can. We're going to put it in ZK login, and we're going to give them that privacy guarantee. That means that that information, their personal information, never ends up on chain, but they do get access to the full blockchain experience. We're also going to sponsor all of their transactions. Imagine being able to buy sponsored transactions for $100 a bundle. Sponsored transactions are incredibly cheap. So $100 is probably going to buy you tens of thousands of transactions. But ideally, your budget and finance department, I mean, I would love for them to operate in Sui, but they probably don't operate in Sui. So I'm going to let you buy sponsored transactions really cheaply, really easily, and just get them plugged in. Simple as that. And importantly, it scales at the same rate as Sui. So in some cases, sponsored transactions have transaction limits. They have peaks. We don't do that with Enoki. You get the full benefit of Sui's capacity and capabilities all inside the bundle. And then finally, and this is one of my favorite things, who's got a Sui name or been on the Sui name service? Okay, we all love it. But honestly, no one really gets it yet. Doesn't make sense. Why do I want a .sui? What's it going to do for me? It starts to make a little bit more sense when you add a business subdomain in the middle. So I can call amma.abcd.sui. Oh, that can be Amma's wallet when she's interacting with ABCD. It's not very intuitive. Now, we were looking at this challenge of making .sui a top-level domain. And when we looked at it, we realized that, one, I can talk about old school. You can't actually use dot anything if you are looking for ICANN registration. So we suddenly had a problem where we couldn't even use that. And so we invented something that was even more effective, more intuitive, and more meaningful. We're just going to use @ So as of the end of this month, when you're using the name service on Sui, you as a business can purchase your domain at ABCD, and your users can register their subdomain within your domain just using the @ symbol. So we're bringing the Cash App feel to Sui. We're bringing that simple, accessible, send me your stuff, send me your assets, shareability, discoverability into Sui, and we're putting that into Enoki for everyone to access easily. And thinking about those user elements that allow onboarding, fundamentally, the reality is better DevX results in better UX. This is a fundamental principle about how we're building Enoki. It's one of the biggest challenges that we have right now. It's almost like a badge because you're geeky enough to spend all the hours figuring out how to build on a blockchain. Aren't I smart? Actually, if we're talking about reaching 1 billion users and bringing them onto Sui, we've got to reach hundreds of thousands of developers, millions of developers, and they've got to have a really good time building on our platform. So that's what Enoki is going to be offered them. We have a portal. They can log in, create an account. You've got access to our sandbox environment instantly. Start building apps, get API keys, TypeScript SDKs that you can integrate into your existing apps, build new apps with, developer docs with example code. We're adding to it. We're going to be building demo apps and adding more and more, giving you a how-to, making it available for you to integrate on web apps, but also on native mobile applications. And really thinking about that poor developer in ABCD who's going to be asked to build another thing or integrate another person, and hopefully making sure that he never has to do a data migration project ever again. Enoki, once you have access to that, also then allows you to bring the fun of Sui to your users. So I mentioned time capsule. We just did a time capsule reveal. I can't explain to you how complicated it is in cryptography to issue an asset. We issued 750 of them for the NAMI bags here today, and they were all locked until a very specific time when I got on stage. Imagine that in the hands of the Golden State Warriors. Imagine that when you're in the Philippines and Steph Curry comes out and there's just a moment where something suddenly reveals itself, and it's all on chain and it's 100% owned by you. We are talking about obfuscated assets. This is going to be coming in the summer. It's going to allow people to partially hide an NFT. Do you want to play a game? Do you want to do a puzzle? Would you like to hide maybe the preview of your book until it's received by the intended person, but still do it permissionlessly on-chain? True randomness. Again, if you're not a crypto geek, you probably don't understand, but randomness doesn't exist in Web2. It's almost always gameable. It's almost always hackable. True randomness is possible on blockchain, and we are bringing that this summer. So that means you can actually build gaming solutions that operate in a truly random and fair manner. These are marketers' tools. Kiosk allows you to express your business model. Of course, company ABCD has rules. They have policies. They have regulations. They have conditions they get to operate under. We're going to allow them to encode those policies into their digital assets. We're going to allow them to remain a sustainable, viable, compliant business, even while they exploit blockchain and Sui for their customers. And it's so much more that we've got under the hood, making Sui the best place to scale audience solutions. And we want to make sure that they're easily available all through the Enoki platform. So this becomes Jimmy's landscape. Anything he wants to do, he just needs to connect the user experience through Amma's wallet on-chain. And the infrastructure helps him do that. The infrastructure, the Enoki business product, the SaaS solution that's easy to buy, easy to work with, gives him a really easy conversation to have with his CTO. She thanks him for saving her the drama of another data migration project or having to deal with another legacy tech solution. But I'm not finished. When you get access to your NAMI bags, you will notice that there are assets from 15 different companies that are building on Sui. I introduced myself as the Director of Product and Consumer Commerce at Mysten Labs. 50% of my job is being the product manager for the Sui ecosystem. I care about all of the businesses that are operating and all of the viable ways in which those businesses get to create impact in the world. And so when we think about our long-term vision for Enoki, it includes the Sui ecosystem. WordPress started the model. Facebook, Amazon, Shopify, they all evolved it. And with Enoki, we're just going to carry it on and we're going to send it to the moon. So our builders includes an allowance for every single in a Sui builder. So our vision includes an allowance for every Sui builder to basically solve a unique problem on Sui and make it integrated with Enoki in order to make it easy for Jimmy to buy. I can bring you Jimmy. I can bring you Caroline. I can bring you Mike. I can bring you, hopefully, Walmart. Let's manifest. Netflix. Who else do we want to see on Sui? Instagram. Let's bring them all to Sui. And then what we want to do is we want Sui builders to show up and deliver incredible solutions, impacting. What ideas do you have? What creativity can you build to the table? How do you help them get their ROI on their customer engagement? What tech solutions can you serve them that they can buy through Enoki, integrate easily with really high quality DevX, and scale everything that we've all been invested in together? And so I'm asking you, whether you are the commerce multinational retailer or whether you're the Sui ecosystem builder, what will you build on Enoki? Visit enoki.mystenlabs.com, have a look, get yourself signed up onto the portal, send your feedback to us. I'm available on all the channels, and I am excited to build with you today. Thank you.